Greetings, neighbors. This is Reflections, show sponsored by the Paducah Cooperative Ministry, where we do God's work with human hands. My name is Gregory Waldrop, and I'm the pastor at Fountain Avenue United Methodist Church, and I am one of your hosts today. Joining us today as a co-host, we're always fortunate to have the director of the Paducah Cooperative Ministry, Heidi Sir Heinrich. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you. I'm always glad to be here. Would you like for me to introduce our
Please
guest?
do.
All
Please.
right. I brought with me today Anna Shelton. Anna is our newest staff member down at Paducah Cooperative Ministry, and she has a rather lengthy title. Anna Shelton is the Fresh Start, First Day Out Mentoring Program Coordinator.
Great.
Would you like me to say that one more time?
Yeah, really fast.
She is, I could put PCM in, PCM, Fresh Start, First Day Out Mentoring Program Coordinator. So she's going to tell us about that today.
That's great. That's great. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, glad you're in the community, and we're glad you're in this work. Tell us about First Day Out of the Fresh Start program.
Okay. Well, as Heidi said, I have been a part of the program now for a couple of months and really enjoyed getting to know PCM, first of all, and the work that they do in the community, and then plugging in this program with that work and continuing that work with the ladies that we have begun to connect with in the McCracken County Jail through our Breaking Barriers program. The First Day Out program really became a vision many years ago when we started seeing the need for women to have a support group when they left the jail. Right. And so many women leave the jail with no resources, no clothes on their back that are appropriate for the weather. Right. For example, in the winter, some of the ladies leave with pajamas or shorts and a t-shirt.
Flip-flops,
yeah, flip-flops, exactly. Things that we take for granted they don't have. Basic needs that we take for granted they don't have. So when I learned about the program, I was really excited to begin the process of building the program and to integrate it with some of the other ministries at Paducah Cooperative Ministries. So the First Day Out program is specifically for the women coming out of McCracken County Jail and re-entering our community.
Right.
Yes.
And part of that whole Fresh Steps, Fresh Start program that is trying to put together a residential community for people to come out and take part in. But what is the Breaking Barriers, the First Steps?
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, Breaking Barriers is actually a program facilitated in the jail weekly by trained facilitators, and it's a cognitive reality study. So it goes through, it has actually 17 sessions, which is very ambitious for a lot of these ladies. But their commitment is to come in weekly and hear more from a man named Gordon Graham and go through a workbook and see if they can pick out places in their life that have become ruts. We probably would refer to those more as habits, but a rut is something that, a place in our life that we've gotten into and we just cannot seem to get out of it. Right. And so through that process, the ladies are given the task of creating a vision, a goal for their future outside the walls of the jail. And so in response to that, we've created the First Day Out program to have a match. We might call them a mentor. What we have come up with a new word. We call them moches. And a moch is someone who would be a mentor and a coach, someone that would come alongside as a friend and a cheerleader. As they leave jail, they might meet once pre-release, and then they will continue that relationship, especially for, as you know, First Day Out, especially that first day out when so many critical choices are made. And you mentioned the transition house. Mm-hmm. The goal for us is to have that facility available to these women at soon. We're working now to put funds together, but that will be a meeting place for these ladies, a meeting place for them to come together and feel that group support that we long for them to have. Right. So in the long run, this will be a 3-step process. And right now, my goal is to get some of these ladies involved in the program and get it off the ground. So.
Great.
So first day out, why is that so critical? Why does that matter?
Well, the first day out, first 24 hours, as most of us know, if we've been through something emotional, when we are all of a sudden faced with a culture shock or a new season in life, we often react. And not all that reacting is positive. It can be negative. And when these ladies leave, there's a sense of overwhelm that they feel that is nothing that I could even give you an analogy for. They often are coming back and have children that their family have been keeping, and all of a sudden they are a parent of 5 children that they haven't had to deal with for 6 months. They all of a sudden need to have a roof over their head, and they had nowhere to go. They all of a sudden don't have any identification. They can't get a job. They can't, all of these things that we don't really think about are in their face within a couple of hours.
It really just hits them
It
square
hits
when
them
they
square in the face.
walk out the door.
And
right.
so the first day out is the time when they will either react positively or negatively and fall into the same pattern of life that they have been in that brought them there.
One of the things we worry about is that thinking stops. When you
Right.
get overwhelmed or fear sets in, then the brain just freezes up and you start responding habitually or
Correct.
automatically without thought. So the goal of the first day out program, then, what do we want to get done on the first day, the first 24 hours?
The first day, we want to give them a chance to celebrate that they've been released and that they are starting a new season in life. The MOACH is actually an acronym. MOACH is an acronym for Meeting One Another with Compassionate Hearts. And so our goal is to have a woman there to meet them and say, I'm here for you, I'm ready to go, let's do this together, you're not alone. We want to see you succeed in the coming days, and prayerfully that will be a 6 month to 1 year connection, a relationship that continues to grow, that then these women will want to turn around and pour back in to the program that they were a part of. So the first day out is critical, but will just be the beginning, the beginning of a relationship.
So where do you find MOACHs?
Everywhere. I've been fortunate to be a part of this program through a grant provided by United Way, and one of the ways that we've begun to find MOACHs is they've gotten the word out through newsletters, we've gotten the word out through churches, so we are looking for MOACHs everywhere. MOACHs are any aged woman over 25 that is, out there doing life and is eager to have a friend and be a cheerleader, be a supporter. So anyone can qualify as a MOACH according to my standards.
And how will they know what to do? Will there be some sort of training component for that?
Yes. We will have an informational meeting about every other month. In case there is an interest, we would love to get together with you and talk. And in addition, just remember that you're not alone in this. Our MOACHs are women from all walks of life, and one of the biggest things I've learned in my career of mentoring and being a part of individuals' lives is that I need someone to come alongside me. And so if you are willing just to come alongside, that is the biggest qualification for you as a MOACH.
So somebody who wants to do some volunteering but wants to do something that has an impact
That's
on
right.
another person's life.
That's correct.
This is a good opportunity. And how would they get in touch with you then at PCM, Anna?
Yes, you can give us a call at Paducah Cooperative Ministry, or you can send me an email at annapcm@hcis.net.
Okay.
But we are open 9 to 3:30 every day and would love to hear from you. Love to get in touch with you about that. So
That's neat. I'm so appreciative of this, really a continuum of care that you're putting in place around
Right.
the jail
That's
ministry.
a good way to put it. It really
It
begins
really is.
pre-release, post-release. It really goes.
It's not an episodic
route.
kind of one hit or miss kind of thing. It really takes people all the way through these important things. As we all know, it's one of the things Jesus talked specifically about us doing is visiting in the jails and prisons and setting the captives free in all sorts of
right.
different ways.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for your work there. That's great.
Well, thank you. I'm enjoying it. I know I've been a part of the Paducah community now for about 3 years, and just really am enjoying this new season of getting plugged into a program that's challenging me, but also that is allowing me to work with a new demographic and be a part of a new community, and have friends in a new community, because I think that's one of the best things about being a part of Paducah Cooperative Ministry, is that it stretches you and challenges you to go out of your comfort zone a little bit. So
It does that, absolutely.
this is definitely an area for me to be stretched. So I
That's great.
appreciate that.
Well, tell us a little bit about what brought you here and what preceded your arriving here, and tell us
Oh my
your
goodness.
interesting background.
That's a long story.
Yeah, really.
But a very interesting one, so give us a
Well,
little
I
snapshot.
have honestly always had a heart for people. My father and my mother took me overseas when I was really young to be a missionary kid, and so I've always felt like I wanted to just do life with people and let that be a part of everything that I do and the way that I share my faith. So when I was 2, my parents took me to Africa, and I spent many of my childhood years growing up, as my brother would say, with the lions, but that wasn't really true. They weren't in our backyard. We lived in a community with a lot of missionaries from different denominations, and that took us, my father would go out into the desert and work with a people group that were nomadic, and so he would fly out with a group called Heli Mission, which was a group
Helicopter mission?
of helicopter pilots that actually flew in different parts of the world. So anyway, it all started there in
North Africa?
East Africa, in Kenya,
Okay.
in Eastern Africa, in Kitale, Kenya. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's really near the Uganda border. So, but I was raised there and enjoyed the time of integrating with a different culture. It just really built my heart to see that the way that that our God sees is not one color, but it's multicolored. And I've always enjoyed worshiping with people of different languages and different cultures.
Wow, that sounds awesome. What an experience. Were you there for many years, or do you have a good memory of some of the times?
I have
in
some
Kenya?
good memories. We were there for 10 years,
Okay.
and so I spent a lot of time playing.
Yeah?
One of the key things that a lot of people ask is, do you know the language? And I do not know Swahili, mostly because the students are taught in English in the schools. Kenya is a British colony. Until they gained their freedom, they were a British colony, and so they were taught in English. And so I did not learn the language, but my parents learned the language, and in turn, I heard many words. And so I can say hello, which is jambo, and how are you, which is habari yako, but that's the basic learning that I have. And probably the most, I guess you could say, life-changing thing for me was just being a different kid. And so my heart for individuals that are on the outskirts of our society really was shaped by even being a missionary kid, because when I came back to the States, I was weird. And so knowing that God gave me a heart for people just by that experience, it might not have been a cross-cultural thing, but it brought me to where I am today, and the heart that I have for people today.
It certainly must have given you a very broad vision of the world and your place in it, which sometimes doesn't happen to a person who grows up in the same community and doesn't have that, and a sense of the beauty of the diversity of different cultures, even with the different other missionary kids, you know, from all around that brought what their culture was to the mix.
Well, and I think that's true. I think that I've been blessed with a broad spectrum. It allows me to know that there is more, more to this life than a lot of the little things that we tend to get worked up over. So I have a heart to go back. You know, I would love to go back.
If you were
anytime,
drawn to go back at some
anytime,
point.
and I've been brought to Paducah. 3 years ago, I was looking to go overseas, and the Lord brought me to Paducah. So here I am. This is my mission field.
Well, now you've
Great.
been doing some other mission work besides Paducah Cooperative Ministry, is that right?
I did. I went on a short-term, very short-term, 1-week trip a couple weeks ago to Slovakia. And it's just a hop, skip, and jump over the ocean. But I had the privilege to travel with a group of 9th to 12th graders. And the purpose of our trip was really to work with a local church and to have them connect with the Roma people group. And I think many people have heard of the Roma. Some of us know them as the Gypsies.
Okay.
We have heard of them throughout history
Right.
as a people that are shunned, a people that aren't loved because they're dirty or they take advantage of us.
Almost a folkloric sense sometimes with gypsy folks.
And they were another target, one of Hitler's targets
They
as
were.
well
They were.
in the Holocaust.
They were. And that goes to, that brings us to where we are in the world today, that they are still looked down upon and really not esteemed as a human. The people that I worked with, we went and we had some Slovak translators who speak Slovenski, and the Roma people were the main group in the community that we worked alongside and did kind of a camp for them. We played soccer, we did makeup for the girls, just very basic things. But the key was just building that relationship.
Right.
And it all boiled down to the one-on-one conversations, because just the reality that I would hold their child or that I would share my bottle of water with that child showed them that they were of value. And I think that lesson and that understanding was a great carryover into my life every day, because we forget how we devalue individuals in the way that, whether it's a smile or whether it's a rushed going through the grocery line on our cell phone or something like that, we often devalue a human without meaning to. And so just knowing that those little touches and those little pieces are the things that bring importance was a great takeaway from that trip. And it was great to see the youth working.
Tell us about the impact that it had that you saw on the youth that you traveled with.
Well, they didn't want to leave, but many of them live in very privileged homes, and so just to see the last night we were there, we did a barbecue where we cooked 1,000 hot dogs, which I'm not sure if you've tried to do lately, but it was fun.
I can't
It was
even
a lot
picture
of
that.
Yeah, really.
And the thing that struck our teenagers the most was when we would cook the hot dogs, grill them, put them on a platter, and one of the students would take the hot dogs out and just let people grab them off the tray. And we had a bread tray and a hot dog tray, and the trays were emptied in seconds. And as the food came out, it was like a swarm. They would swarm to the tray full of food. And they said it struck them, the hunger. They don't realize it because we didn't feed them every day, but seeing that hunger really rocked their world, to know that someone could want a hot dog that badly, because we often eat a quarter of what's on our plates. But in reality, the Slovak people make it a rule to eat everything on their plate because they know there are hungry individuals outside their door. So that's something that I know they told me really rocked their world, was seeing that hunger and realizing what they take for granted and what the abundance that they have here.
Where exactly was this? I date myself, but I was visited in Prague when it was Czechoslovakia,
right, right.
and now Czech Republic is separated from Slovakia.
Correct.
And just where exactly you
We
flew into Prague, I guess? Or
No, actually we flew into Budapest, Hungary, and drove about 3 hours to a place called Jelšava, and it is more in the mountains. It was kind of in a valley. They called it Hungry Valley, but we stayed, our hotel where we stayed was in the mountains. So if that gives you any indication of where it was, I'm not sure. We were about 3 hours south of Krakow, I believe, Krakow, Poland. I have some friends that live there, so I did that math.
Right.
But
how far? There's a Polish town, Zakopane, that I visited in as well, just south of Krakow.
Okay.
As well.
So you've been near there.
That was all in the back when it was behind the Iron Curtain
Right,
as well, which made
right.
it a really
And that's one of the
fairly
reasons
intriguing place.
that it is so poor now. Some of the translators were telling me the history of the town, and it used to be the summer home of the king when it was Czechoslovakia. And so now they are recovering, and that has been years. They're constantly recovering from that and are very poor. as a result. But it's a different world in Europe. And, I was talking about being raised in Africa, and I find it interesting how different it is, because I appreciate different cultures, but going into these new cultures always brings an element of culture shock, because the poor are the same, however their cultures are just slightly different.
Oh, yeah.
And so you learn a little something new every time you travel.
It's humbling, isn't it?
It's
It really
very
is very, very humbling to meet with folks that have so little, but carry themselves with a dignity and a wisdom that is sometimes lacking in our own society for lack of experience
very
of
correct.
the value of things, I think.
Right.
And it sounds like you had confirmed what is biblical scholars are identifying more and more and more, and is this openness that particularly the poor and marginalized have to the words of the gospel, even more than anybody else. It's almost like they have less, they have to drop and eliminate from their lives in order to embrace and receive fully the riches of the gospel. But
There's so much truth to that.
there's
so much truth to that. I mean, just looking at the students, they're a great example. The teenagers that went with us, and they've been in church every single time the doors are open. They've been to every camp. They've been on every
I
trip.
don't think they'll ever forget these experiences.
They won't, but they also appreciate the gospel in a different way,
Right.
because they realize that it's not just that easy,
Yeah.
and that not everybody really does know it. They were fascinated to be able to tell the basics of the gospel out of the Bible, and for people to go, oh, for the first time, and to get out of the Bible Belt of the South,
Right.
and to see that
yeah.
also will change your perspective.
Sometimes people think, well, everybody knows this.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah,
heard
it's
it.
saturated kind of a
Right,
mentality. Yeah.
right.
You said something a minute ago about relationship building. And that is isn't that just fundamental, no matter what kind of work you're doing, no matter where it is, anything that you're trying to do to make the world a better place for another person begins with the development of a relationship.
Correct.
And everything springs from that, doesn't it?
It really does.
You know, I've worked in a prison for a while in my training, and the one place that they could guarantee there would be 0% recidivism or return was the place where intimate friendships were made. And that happened in various places, but the people that had good, strong, deep-hearted relationships in prison rarely returned.
That's correct.
Rarely returned.
And I think, just to piggyback off of that, we have done a lot of looking at other programs and seeing other work in beginning the training, the process of looking at training, as well as recruiting individuals to volunteer for this program. And one of the things that I think is the most telling for us is the relationships that our facilitators in the Breaking Barriers have already created with these ladies, and how some of those relationships with the ladies that have been in our past Breaking Barriers classes have been what has kept them from returning. And so that intimate relationship sounds very simple, and it can be very simple, but we long to give them that opportunity for a relationship that they haven't had before.
Right.
And that, like you said, is just really the crux of seeing change.
It's fundamental and it's exciting.
It is.
It
It's
really
very
is.
exciting.
And it's new. Every interaction
right.
is
Everyone
new
is
and
new
and
fresh. And
different.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone is an individual basis. Every situation will be different, and to me, that's the exciting part of people.
Right.
We're all different. If we were
Right.
all the same,
Every
it would be
story
very boring.
is different. Yeah.
So I enjoy hearing those new stories, and I think the Mochas will really benefit themselves from building that relationship and growing.
And tell us how the program is developing, how it's moving. You're in the early stages of it at this point. You have some folks you're at some people in the jails that are undertaking this program. And
Well, yes, we actually have some ladies that are participating in Breaking Barriers that we have told them about the program, and so they are anticipating applying to be a part of the program, as well as moches. We have several ladies that have expressed interest and are in the process of applying, and then we'll go through a training together, and then we'll match them. So we're there. It's now. The time is now. So we're excited about that because it's here.
Great.
But there's room for others.
Oh, this will be an ongoing process of growth and ongoing process of connecting ladies. So the truth is, there will never be an end. We will never have enough.
Right.
So we can always use more
And a moach
volunteers.
is not a rescuer.
Never.
A moach doesn't come in and solve problems and rescue somebody and make it all better. We wrestled with coach, mentor. Each has its own connotations, which may be different from person to person. So one of the reasons that we chose moach was it has no connotations because it's a brand new word, and we will give it the connotations through this particular program. And there's a little bit of humor and whimsy to it, I think, but as well as the acronym, which, tell us that one more time. What does moach, the acronym?
The acronym for MOACH is meeting one another with compassionate hearts.
And that says it all. It really does.
It does.
So,
It does.
this is a neat program down at PCM, one of the many that we do with the food and shelter and emergency assistance. But God seems to be leading us down this path. We started with the transition house. We thought that's where we were going. That took a long time to come to fruition. In the meantime, we thought, well, what can we be doing to impact these women's lives and help begin reducing recidivism and changing lives now? And that's how we sort of backed up a little bit and started in the jail, and then realized once they got out on the sidewalk, paralysis sometimes set in.
Sure.
So it's been a really interesting process, and I really think God led.
That's neat. One of the many really neat things you're doing down there, and the spirited things. And I thank you both so much for everything you're doing at Paducah Cooperative Ministry. And we're particularly glad for everything you're doing, Anna.
Thank you.
Glad to meet you, and
It's nice to meet you.
look forward to seeing you in all kinds of places. And there'll be plenty of folks that'll come up and connect with you now
Good.
from this occasion. We're glad you've been here with us here on the Reflection Show, sponsored by the Paducah Cooperative Ministry, where we, all of us together, do God's work with human hands. Until next time, shalom.